Hey, Tiny T Potter here, and I got my studio finally cleaned up. It's taken a few weeks, maybe even a couple months from when I did my last video here, but anyway, I'm getting it ready. Don't have everything out of here yet. I do have a weight set that I may leave in here if I don't need the room. I may leave that there. It was in here on a different wall, but got it over there next to the garage door that goes out to the garage from the shop, and I may move it out of there or I may sell it. I decided, but can't always get to the gym right now like I usually do for working out, so it may just stay there. I've used it a couple times. But anyway, I want to go through the studio here, just give you kind of a lowdown on what everything is that I use here. So first of all, got a table here, got a few things on it right now. That stuff will probably, most of it, be going out someplace. So got a few things under there. There's a grow light for one thing underneath I got down there for starting seedlings for plants, but that stuff, none of that's with the pottery. But this table is what I usually need, some kind of table just to set stuff on when you throw things on the wheel or if you're hand building stuff. Nice to have a table. I built this as a standing table, not one to sit at, so this one is up a little bit higher. It's up to about my waist, a little higher than my waist, so it wouldn't be comfortable if I sat down. You can see there the chair. If I sat down at that chair, it'd be up to my shoulders. So anyway, that's a table for doing stuff on. I got my little studio god here that a friend of mine made. He's just overlooking. That's Adam Smith, the artist. He's had a few falls, so he's lost a few things over the year. I usually have him sitting up high, but he broke in half. I got to glue him before I set him back up there, but usually his little perch is on the top of that post that's got some wires on it. So anyway, over here I got some other shelving, and this one I have all the tools. Those starting at the top up here, I just got some storage stuff. Here's a blender if I need to blend anything. I got a few extra pots that I've made over the years, some different ones there, and some that have been given to me. I got some of those in another room. And then mostly this is my glaze and tools, so shelving and just to store stuff on. It'd be nice to have another set. What I may do is if I want to dry things slow, if it's drying out too quickly stuff, I can sometimes just tack a piece of plastic up along here, and I put them on the shelf, and I drop the plastic down, and it's covered in. There's no air getting in or out, and it really slows the drying down. Down here in the south where I'm at, I'm in the very southern tip of Texas. It's very humid almost year-round, so not likely I'll have to do any of that here. But up in Iowa and Wisconsin, where the air gets dry in the wintertime, stuff will dry out very quickly. Or if there's a breeze or something in and you want it to dry evenly, especially on sculpturing type stuff, I'd put in there and put a piece of plastic all around the shelf and make a little area where the humidity would stay in there and let it dry out a lot slower. But anyway, I got molds on there for slip casts. Those were given to me. I don't do a lot of that, but these are all for doll parts for dolls. And my wife, I might get interested in that and show her how to do it, and that's something that she might enjoy see her later on. But anyway, the next shelf down here, over here I got some glaze stains and stuff like that to do some of that work, some wax back there, some other tools. I got a weight measuring deal here for mixing glazes, mix all my own glazes. So a lot cheaper that way to buy the dry material and mix them than to buy ready-made. Got over here some other tools and containers, and down below just some other tools down here. Various things like this here is a strainer to strain glazes to get all the lumps and stuff out. This here is a for decorating with stains, just a table. You put your pot on there, you can turn it back and forth and make stuff. And then down below there underneath the shelves, I got the raw material. There's some Gursley borate, which is not in production anymore, so that's kind of a rarity. They're doing other things with glazes that called for that, but they closed down the mine that mined the Gursley borate, unless it's changed now. It's been a few years, but I've held on to that because people had told me, other friends of mine that do pottery, got some whitings, silica flour, and some other things in there to make glazes with, nepheline cyanite, and some, I call it nepsi, but just a bunch of different things. I got some base glazes I make, and those are all for that. Got some raw clay. So I got a deep sink here for cleaning tools, my hands and stuff like that. Usually I keep a bucket to wash my hands off and get the majority of the clay off, because clay will clog your your trap eventually, or your pipes if you keep running it down there. But what I do is I usually have a rinse bucket, and I get the majority of the clay off that way, then just fine rinse over there, tools and stuff. Over here, back behind, this has got some clay material in it. I got some pre-mixed clay. Sometimes I'll buy pre-mix. Most of the time I'll mix my own. And over here I got bags of clay. That's a ball clay, and down below I got a fire clay, and I usually mix those 50-50 and put some other stuff in them. Usually grog and stuff like that for larger stuff. If I'm going to do a white clay body, and it's a little different formula that I use, but usually my basic clay is for doing larger pieces like the one I have here. So, and that one's actually made of just a ball clay, and I'm real surprised it survived. It's not made for doing the large stuff, the clay body I used on that. But anyway, over here are some more shelves I'm going to clean off. That part I haven't got to yet, but I got to find a place for a lot of that stuff. But that there will also be storage for pots and stuff like that, the ones that I make. So another storage shelf. Here's a kiln. This is a big kiln. I forget how many cubic feet it is, but it's really large. You can do like 30-inch diameter stuff in here, and it's got shelves and stuff to stack up and down, stack up pieces in, so you can get more in there. I got a smaller kiln here, another kiln there. So I got 3 kilns. This one is a cone 10 kiln. The other ones are lower firing kilns. So medium-sized one. That one was given to me by a friend whose grandmother used to do the slip casting, and don't remember what that fired to, but it's a lower fire kiln. And then this one down here is a low fire too. Over here I got a few pots I picked up from my uncle that passed away. He was a collector of stuff, and these are some old crocks. I wanted some of different sizes, so his son saved some out for me, my cousin, and I bought these at the auction sale that they had, and I use these as a model. I like to buy things, and then I can usually build upon those. These are old-time ones. I'm always interested in the old crocks and the old butter churns, and if I find any of those, I'll purchase them, and then I'll duplicate them. So once I see the thickness and stuff like that, and the lips, how they're made, it's fairly easy for me to go through and duplicate those the same way. So and we got a couple 5-gallon, a 15-gallon, and a 10-gallon crock there. So back over here, I got a bucket for throwing wet clay in my scraps when I'm trimming and stuff like that, and I keep water in there, and then I recycle that clay. So that all goes into that garbage can. That's just a slit bucket, call it. So it's usually a lot of times there's loose water in there, and what I wash my hands off with before I wash in the sink, I'll dump that in there too, because it'll get clay in there. This over here is a clay mixer, a Bluebird clay mixer. If you ever heard of those? I believe that's Bluebird. I looked it up one time. Bought it off eBay, so it's got a bearing problem on it right now, so it's kind of out of commission. I have to go back to the old-fashioned way of mixing it with my feet. I'll show that in a video here. I used to do that all the time before I got the mixer, and the mixer is a lot easier and a lot quicker. But the old way, mixing up the stuff with your feet, well, I actually showed you how mining out of the river, getting it that way. But and to mix up the dry, if you don't have a lot of equipment, you can mix it up just manually, and I do it with my feet, which is a lot easier. Then over here I got a plaster table that I made. I welded up the frame on this, and right now I got my throwing bats and everything on it. But I need to get a board down below, and I can store all those bats underneath. I'm going to do that, and that's something I can do this week. But I'll get that ready, and what you do on there, that's where you wedge your clay when you get ready to throw it and make things, and I'll explain all that to you. But anyway, that's basically all the stuff you need as far as equipment. There's other stuff you can get. There's extruders, slab rollers, and stuff like that. Nice things to have, but not necessary. You can make them other ways. They're a lot more uniform with a slab roller, and I'm not used the extruders a lot. I do use them some, but when I have them, but not always. So let's see if I can change this around on the camera. Anyway, I was just trying to switch the camera around so I could show you me and see myself at the same time, but Not sure I can figure out how to do this on here. Anyway, this is Tiny T Potter. I guess everybody needs a weight set in their studio too, but no, that'll probably be going away if I need more room. But right now, it's out of my way for making stuff. But anyway, got a fairly large room. It's not, you don't need a room this big. I was real lucky to be able to add on to the house and build this ourselves. So my wife and I, and so this is my studio. Oh, I almost forgot the clay wheels. Got two different types here, and this is a kick wheel. This one is run by using your feet to kick. Okay, like that. And this one is an electric one. I don't have it plugged in right now, but it's got a foot pedal right here. You press on that, it's like a car accelerator. You press down, it goes faster, and the more you press down, the faster it goes. And back like that. And is this reversible? I don't think it is. No, this one's not reversible. This is a Brent CXC. It'll center up to 100 pounds of clay with ease. It's got a 1 horsepower motor. They make one a little bit bigger than this now. When I bought this, it was the biggest one they make. And what I like to do is make the very large pots as big as what will fit in that kiln there. And what I do is when I throw those pots, they're actually taller when they're first made, but they'll shrink about 3% to 4% just in the drying. And so I build them to where they're just a little bit taller than the kiln, probably an inch or two. When the time they shrink down, then they're lower, and by the time I fire them, they get smaller yet. And by the time I fire them the second time, they'll be smaller yet. So if I had a big outdoor kiln, 4-foot one, I'd be making them as big as what the kiln will hold. So anyway, still got a little bit of cleaning left to do to get this to be strictly a pottery studio, but it kind of doubles as some other things too. I do a lot of my gardening stuff in here. So, but anyway, this is the studio as it is, and Tiny T Potter signing out. We'll talk to y'all later.